Hi, I'm Andrew from Collider, and in this video we're going to explore the framework called DIKW, Data, Information, Knowledge, Wisdom. And this is one of the foundational frameworks for personal knowledge management because it gives you the structure to the whole thing you are doing, to the whole of your knowledge work. It allows you to see with which assets you actually work in and how you can optimize your workflow to be more intellectually productive. So let's dive into it. What are those 4 stages? We're starting with data, and data is something unstructured, raw, unfiltered, something like that we get from the observation. Maybe we do some readings, maybe we get some numbers from some sort of data set or data source, and it can be, and not necessarily can be like a numerical data. It can be the text, right? Or it can be the podcast, because when we start listening to the podcast, it unprocessed, it unfiltered by us. So for us, it's basically raw data. Although obviously it's structured for us in a certain way, this is our job to process it. And when we collect enough data, when we sort of stumble upon some data, when we start processing the data, we move into the next stage, information. Information is all about structuring and filtering, right? So you see some data, and by the way, don't worry, later I will give you the example. So the idea here, you get some data, you start filtering them, you start processing them, and at some point, some structure emerge, some patterns emerge. You see the signal, you'll be able to differentiate the signal from noise, and that means you're already on the stage of the information, or you're working with the information, right? And by the way, those transitions, they are not like very sharp, they are very gradual, right? So you never see like, oh, now like this is 100% information, or this is 100% data, right? And another important thing, this framework is not linear. Although it has this linear structure, the idea here, when you actually work with some kind of complex topic, or with some, when you're learning something, or you researching something, the idea here, you never go to this linear fashion. You never use this linear fashion. The real process is kind of messy. You go back and forth, you collect additional data, you try to apply frameworks you already know, and so on. So the third stage is knowledge. And at some point, when you get enough information, when you uncovered enough patterns, you start to form the knowledge. And the important thing about knowledge is internalized. So knowledge is in your head. Basically, it's your understanding of something, right? And this understanding is contextualized and it's meaningful for you, because information is completely meaningless, right? Because, for example, you see some pattern in data, and this is pattern by itself. This is some form of order, but it can be absolutely meaningless, right? Before you start to actually make sense of it. And basically, knowledge is something that makes sense, something that you understand, something that you can explain, and something in which you see the cause and effect, right? You see like how the whole thing is structured in terms of causes and effects. And different, by the way, other relationship, for example, like part and the whole relationship, also kind of start to emerge during the like on the information stage, but probably fully formed on the knowledge stage. And the last stage, or the last asset, is wisdom. And wisdom is obviously the hardest to explain, right? Hardest to define, because it's like a bit more like ephemeral. But the idea is just like wisdom it's a deep understanding. It's when you have this ability to reason with a high precision and high granularity. Wise person can make a very accurate judgments, and it feels almost natural, right? You don't like spend a lot of cognitive resources to make this judgment. It feels like intuition, because you internalize so much knowledge, you saw already so many patterns that at some point you become wise, right? And you can process things way, way faster, right? And also wisdom is about the action. Right? The idea of wisdom is you actually can act, you can change things, you can solve problems, you can make complex decisions. So this is about wisdom, right? And this is the sort of the process in a nutshell. So let me give you the example. Let's start with some data. For example, you get this data, and this data about like the amount of student loan in US. And you see here, right, we see some numbers, and we see like by quarter, and we see like different numbers, we see different percentage. And at some point we start processing it. We start to look for patterns. And here we see the clear patterns. The student debt, student loans debt grows, right? It's just the very obvious pattern of the growth. So, and we see it like basically in the data, in the numbers, in the dollars, and in the percentage. So that means if we discovered this pattern, that means we're moving to the stage of the information. And on the stage of the information, we start to sort of represent this data differently, right? We can, for example, create this kind of chart, and we see, and also we collect more retrospective data, so we're able just to, sort of attribute it to the wider time frame. And here we see the very obvious steady growth of the student loans, right? Of the student debt. So here we discovered the pattern, and this is the information. This is already not scattered data, like some random data. We see the clear growth pattern, and now we start trying to make sense of it, like what's going on? Why is that? Right? And this is where we start to move in from the information to knowledge. But maybe before we move there, we actually need more data. Because, for example, we want to compare the growth rate of the student debt to the growth rate, for example, of the different other debts. And here we see that student debt grows actually faster than, for example, mortgages or the credit card debt. So we see like a clear pattern here. Not just it grows, but it grows faster at the higher rate than other kinds of debt. And also what we see that college tuition and fees are also growing, which are obviously correlated. And we see that college tuition grow extremely fast. And although it grows very fast, we can see other types of goods or services are actually declining in price, right? We see, like, for example, the clothing is relatively steady. It didn't have any kind of additional price change, although obviously there was inflation in economy, right? And this is the data from 2000. And some things have become increasingly cheap. For example, like a television or the cell phones, we see like the price dropped dramatically. So now we get some context, and we already start forming some kind of the knowledge, because we not just see patterns, we start to connect them together. We start to see, oh, actually, the student debt grows and the college tuition grows, and they grow, at the similar speed with a similar rate. And now we'll be able to contextualize it and see like how they grow related to inflation, or how they grow to the different types of debt. So now we start moving to the more to the knowledge stage, and here we start to sort of assess it and try to make judgments about it and try to analyze it and understand, right? And we see, like, for example, tuition grows, but we also obviously, if we collect more data, we would see that the administrative staff in the universities are also grown, like at a very high speed, and also to the degree where in Ivy League colleges, for example, the number of administrative staff is basically a 1-to-1 ratio to the students, which sounds insane, but there are data showing this, right? And we see, okay, the tuition grows and the number of staff grows. So obviously there is some correlation and maybe even causation here, right? Because obviously if you hire more and more people, you need to grow tuition just to be able to pay salary to these people, right? And then we see, like, for example, that there is less demand for the certain types of job. So college might actually seem like a bad investment, right? Because you will take your debt, you go to the college for 4 years, for 5 years, and then you end up with a degree which is supposed to give you a good job. But if you go for some departments rather than other, for some, like for example, if you go more to the social science, you would stumble upon the market which sort of has fewer jobs opening. And in this case, if you are not able to find a job, this college thing start looking as a bad investment, right? Because you invest a lot of money, you got a lot of debt, and your debt is actually growing, right? Because of the interest rate, obviously. So this is the problem, right? And another factor we can assess is basically it's a lot easier to get the access to these loans, right? So there's just like much less sort of vetting, much less requirements. So we're starting to form kind of the mental model of the whole domain, how it all works, like what are the goals, what are the effects, what factors are in place, right? And obviously this is the complex environment where just like not super clear, just like it's not one-to-one relationship, one cause, one effect, right? It's many causes and many effects, and just like, and the whole thing it sort of moves as a kind of ecosystem, right? Where just like many patterns are actually unpredictable. So now we start to form knowledge about it, because we see how the different factors are in play, and we also start to understand what's going on, right? Because before that it was just the data, just the random observations, or not random, maybe just a set of observation data set, and then it was information, structured observations, right? Patterns, and now we move into and starting to understand it, make sense of it, put it into some kind of model, and this is the stage for the knowledge, right? This is the stage where the knowledge start to emerge, and it emerges in our head, and we can put it into the knowledge system. We can put it into the environment where it will help you just to form it better, right? Because obviously what you see on my screen now, this is not knowledge, this is information, right? Or data. Probably this is the information because it's structured and it's already like distilled. But the idea here is not knowledge. Knowledge is in my head because I start to understand it. So this is the knowledge stage. And the last stage in this framework is the wisdom stage, right? And here, for example, we can look for the awesome podcast by the Ben Horowitz and Mark Andreessen, who actually explore the whole like problem of the crisis in the higher education, and they like how they explore in it and how they talk about it shows like on which level of wisdom they are both on, right? Because they can navigate it easily, they can pinpoint different ideas, they can just it looks like it looks very natural. It almost doesn't require from them any cognitive, like real cognitive sort of efforts. But obviously, because it precedes, because both of them actually been through a lot of experience, they acquire a lot of knowledge, they've been through a lot of data, a lot of information, right? And that's why it's easy for them just to navigate this complex subject with such a, basically, with so much freedom and so much intuition, right? And here they are able to actually to deduce some very like deep and interesting observation, which connect the knowledge to the broader context. For example, if the tuition now is around $70,000 per year, they actually, instead of going to the college, you might consider just to hire yourself the personal tutor at this cost, at this price, and it's going to be extremely qualified personal tutor. And all of the data actually shows that personal tutoring is very effective way of acquiring education, right? So now we're in this model of where you actually have a choice, either to go to the, like, for example, Ivy League college, or to hire the person directly from the Ivy League, and then ask this person to actually navigate you through the whole like bunch and abundance of materials available online, which you can obviously go through yourself, right? Obviously, it's just like it's way more complex, because college is not just about like education; it's about like social development, it's about social skills, it's about kind of navigating your way into the life. It's about like spending time and a lot more, right? It's just like it's not only about education. But since the education is the main part, it's very good like a frame to look at it. And this frame would come out if you're actually wise, right? If you have a lot of knowledge, internalized and deep knowledge about the sort of sphere, and you will be able to sort of generate insights like this one. So this is, we've been through all of the 4 stages. And now I want to just give you a short intro why this framework is so useful in personal knowledge management, right? Because it allows you to basically view all of the processing which you do in personal knowledge management. And by the way, personal knowledge management is all about processing, right? You start with some sort of data, raw observation, and you hopefully to move towards knowledge, towards generating knowledge, towards the acquiring knowledge. So this framework allows you just to structure this process, like either in terms of stage you are on now with a particular project or with a particular idea, but also with the assets you are navigating. You might assess like how much data you actually have, how much information you actually have, and also how much knowledge you actually have and how much knowledge queues you actually have, right? Because knowledge queues is something that prompts you to sort of remember this knowledge. So this is the idea of the framework. Framework gives you the very, very good structure into the whole personal knowledge management, because that's why this is the foundational framework, because it defines all the basically all the area of it. And also it allows you to think about your workflows more mindfully and more structurally and more granularly. And you can see like on which stage, if you consider this as a stages, you will see on which stages you actually have problems or bottlenecks. Maybe you have so much data, but they don't, they do not convert to the knowledge or to the wisdom. And this is the problem. And now you have the problem to solve in your personal knowledge management system. So this is the intro to Dikw, and I see you in the next video.